to Adobe MAX 2023, live from Sydney, Australia. Before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live, create and learn on today, paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. My name's Johanna and I'm here today with Flynn to chat about all things graphic design. How are you doing today, Flynn?
I'm great. How are you,
Amazing.
Johanna?
So good.
Yeah?
So excited. Let's go.
Let's go. We're back in the studio, which is super cool.
It's so good to be back.
Yeah.
The second time we did the Sketchtember a couple of weeks ago, and now
right.
live for Adobe MAX.
That's right. Hadn't been back since 2020, so very excited to be here. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Max. And yeah, we thought we'd cover a little bit of the event and some of the advancements in graphic design, nice and early at the beginning here. And then we have Sophie Eleanor, so I'll be having a chat to one of our speakers, Sophie Eleanor, immediately after this one. And then we've got the fantastic Jeremy Lord, in which Johanna's going to jump in and host for that one. And we've also got shout out to Chad up the back, sorting us out, making sure that we sound good. Yeah, we're just checking out the live chat as well. If you've got any questions as we're rolling along, I'm jumping into host again. I'm taking over your spot. You go for it.
Yes, so everyone, if you have any questions for us, myself or Flynn, but primarily for Flynn, feel free to post it in the chat and we will do our best to answer each and every one of them. There we go.
It's just natural to jump into the hosting position.
I know, you're just such a natural, Flynn.
That's, obnoxious. Sorry about that. I'll leave it to you. Go on. What's next?
Well, next I think we've done the comments, we've said hello.
That's right.
I think we just jump right into it.
Okay.
Right?
Cool. Yep. Let's jump over. We'll jump over to my screen. I thought I'd just start by, we're kind of transitioning into the Asia Pacific kind of region. A lot of people kind of waking up to a lot of content. So the online content, there's heaps of stuff here. And we were just chatting about who we're really excited to see. You should have just seen Suan and Dylan Mooney's presentation, I believe, if I've got my time zones and everything all worked out correctly. But something we were talking about is who are you most excited about? I can't help but be super excited about Boss Logic. So this is going to be tomorrow. Code, we've actually been chatting in DMs for the last 4.5 years, trying to do something together. And it is finally happening. So very excited about that. Mark your calendars, add that to your session. It's going to be amazing. And he's presenting at the same time as Michaela Stafford, which will be super cool.
Ooh, and I'm seeing that. So that's digital art versus 3D motion graphics. That's going to be difficult to choose. I think I'm just going to have to dual screen it.
It's one after the other. It's fine.
Oh, one after the other.
We wouldn't do that to anybody.
Just save the rest of my tabs for something else then.
That's it.
But yeah, it's such an exciting lineup this year. I think personally, I'm looking forward to Annie Atkins. As always, to go on the sort of the graphic design theme. But then just so excited to see whatever's coming. If there's anything coming from Fresco or just illustration in general, I think is going to be on my list.
Cool. Well, there's heaps of stuff. I'm going to be focusing mostly on kind of graphic design and graphic design related sort of bits of content as we go through. So with that in mind, I thought I'd try to keep this as live as possible. So you've seen the really polished well-rehearsed folks on stage, the Paul Trannies and the evangelists and things like that. I wanted to create everything kind of live today. So this is all very, very fresh. So I took this photo on the way to work here at Adobe. So this is going down to the Anzac Bridge in Sydney, right in Darling Harbour. And I thought, well, this would be great. I'll use this as an example of what you can do very, very quickly. So we're going to jump into, we're just in Illustrator. So a lot of these features that I'm about to show were recently in beta and now they have moved over to Illustrator, just retail version. So if I'm using something that you want to use and you want to have access to, you might just need to update, that's all. But I'm just going to go over here. So we have Retype beta, which is super cool. I kind of jumped the gun then, look, I'm too excited. What you want to do the first time is if you've got an image and you want to know what the font is or you want to get the closest font that you can, just from a photo, this is like a pixelated photo from my old iPhone. And this is, you go down to text to vector. It has brackets, it says beta at the moment, and you'll get this window. And then what it's doing is it's using the machine learning to understand the font and everything like that. I'm going to skip the first one because the first one is actually 100% accurate. It's actually the right one. And there's some really bad examples, but there's some pretty close examples too. So you can actually take photos of things that aren't fonts and get something that's pretty close.
Really?
As well. Yeah, like if you've got like an old Art Deco building that someone has hand created the font, you'll actually get something that's pretty close. And you can continue to refine. You can keep getting more and more and more. It'll probably get further and further from the source material as you go. But this is nuts. It's super cool. The top one that it gets is actually the correct one. It's called Interstate Condensed Bold, and it's what we use all throughout New South Wales, maybe Australia, for all of the signage. So there you go, fun fact. I find it super cool, and if you don't have an angled sign like this as well, you can actually click into it and just start retyping, and you can change the words and remove the background and everything like that.
And how would that handle sort of the texture of the photo as well? Would it look like it's vectorized type on top of it, or?
It's a good question. I think it does. I think it's not perfect. It's hard to do in this example because as you can see what's happened, and I should have used another example to go deeper into this, but I'm trying to skim over everything. But if it was a little bit flatter, maybe on not such an angle, maybe it would help a little bit. You can see that the AI's kind of like tried to like remove the background, but because of the angle, it's not putting the font back that way. So try this out with something a bit flatter, like take the photo like right in front of it, and it'll probably work a lot better than this little one here.
Yeah.
But
Still
anyway,
very cool.
I think it's super cool. So we're going to jump across to a few other things as well. I don't know why that font is coming up. By the way, if you've got questions, throw them in chat. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Claire in chat, hi Flynn and Johanna. We love code, yes, of course we do. Christy, hi from Auckland, New Zealand. Kia ora, and Monique as well. Love the session with Sun and Dylan, super inspirational. Yeah, that was super cool. Yeah, I spent 6 months working alongside Claire and some other talented folk to try to make that happen, and I haven't watched it. So as soon as we're finished, I'm going to go check it out and go watch it. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
So text to scene. So we've been covering a lot of generative fill, generative expand, and things like that in Photoshop. Now it's Illustrator's turn, and Illustrator is secretly my favorite app. So, you know, don't tell Photoshop.
I don't know if that's much of a secret.
It might not be a secret
honest.
to regulars of Adobe Live, sure. But maybe to some of the Max folks, yeah, love me some Illustrator. So I'm very excited to be, you know, amongst the first couple of people to demo this sort of stuff. It's really exciting. So you look over to the right side, where are we? On the right side, all the way up the top there, we've got this familiar looking prompt box. And so you might recognize this from such films as Photoshop and Generative Fill. So now we can, create vectors from text, which is pretty crazy. So we're going to start with a scene, and because I like to be a little bit prepared, I've come up with a couple of just prompts that I think will work quite well. So what I've popped in there, which is probably a little bit too small for some of you to see, it says person interacting with tech, corporate Memphis style, concept art.
Interesting.
And this is the part where you stretch. Okay, this is going to be our like
do your
forced
stretches, do your monkey paws.
That's right.
If anyone knows Anna Davis Court's stream, just...
That's right. And Ryan Selvey, shout out to Ryan. He always has the breaks. Good time to look away from your monitor every time you're doing this. So yeah, it comes back with this like pretty cool, this is like newly discovered for me. I was thinking scenes and I was like mountaintops and things like that. But it's pretty incredible what the prompt can actually understand. So it's created these like, you know, and they're not perfect. Any sort of vector artist will be like, haha, what are you doing down here? But it's an amazing start. And it's a lot better than what I thought it might have been on the tin, which was bringing in raster graphics and basically doing an image trace over the top of it. Because image trace is, of course, something we've had for a very long time. But it's actually generating it because, of course, the machine learning is understanding from all these images trained on Adobe stock, what is this person trying to create, and then recreating an original piece of work from that. And I think these are pretty cool.
They are pretty cool.
And I also learnt what Memphis style was as well during this process, because if you don't have it, this doesn't work. So there you go. This corporate kind of style is Memphis style, apparently.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
Amazing. And now, before you go on further to another prompt, we do have a question from Ace.
Great.
How do you get the text-to-vector graphic feature in beta?
Great question. Yep, so if you get it in just the current retail version, so the version that's installed, as long as you have Creative Cloud, you just need to update. And so I think that probably happened about 8 hours ago. Like, 8 hours, it usually coincides with the keynote when it airs in the US. So you will have access to it right now. So have a little play around. Yeah, it's super cool. So that's some examples. Let's dive in a little bit more. If anybody has any prompts, I'm open to prompt suggestions as we go along. We can jump back and forth. That's always fun. Keep it G-rated, but let us know what you think.
Absolutely. And speaking of chat once more, on Behance, I want to say hello to Robert from Sweden, and Fabio and John as well.
Hey team.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And nice to have some Swedish representation. Woo. In the chat. Oh, this was more what I was thinking with Generate Scene, of it being quite simple, but it being a nature scene, and something more like this.
Exactly. Yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking too. This is my super safe version if nothing else worked. And you probably recognize over the right-hand side, so just above us here, you've got different versions as well. And you can regenerate to your heart's content, right? Interestingly, I feel like I have to click off so I can see it because it selects the outline. So, but yeah, pretty cool stuff.
Stunning.
I think. And they are full vectors as well. So I just ungroup it and double click, because for some reason I never use the direct selection tool, which I should. That's right, no one from Adobe's watching, surely. And then, everything's completely, fully editable, and you can move things around and follow it to your heart's content. So pretty cool. We're going to go for one more. One more, which was a bit of a theme that I thought we would do, and then who knows, we'll see how we go. So one more, final one before we move on to something else. So have you played around with generative AI stuff in Photoshop very much, Johanna?
Well, we did our Friday series, so that
right.
was really my intro to designing with AI as sort of a co-designer.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the perspective that I've tackled it from. Never quite getting a sort of almost fully realized piece and then tweaking that, or making, essentially using AI to create thumbnails and then exploring sort of that way. But this is definitely something that I need to check out. I can imagine it just speeding up the process of coming up with ideas and just seeing what works really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting stuff.
Exactly right. So these are kind of cool. So this is beach landscape with sand and waves.
Oh wow.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad at
I'm
all.
pretty crazy. It's amazing because, of course, I practiced some of these prompts before we were live today, and these are totally different to what we had. But it's interesting with the shadows, and then how it's interpreted everything. This has kind of gone a really soft pastel, but kind of, I don't know, wacky kind of surrealism kind of thing. But anyway. We move on. So I'm going to go to a practical application of this.
Yes.
Because what I did is I went through some of my old design files, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and trust me, there's a lot of ugly in there. And I was like, this is actually a really perfect example to demo, because if you're the graphic designer in your family, you will have been asked to do so many little things. There's a birthday, there's a wedding, can you do the invitations, can you do this, can you do this? And guess how much they pay you? Nothing. So it's something that you kind of have to do in your spare time, and time is really valuable to all of us. So there are amazing tools like Adobe Express, which I actually originally used for the very first time to create this. This was an invitation for my son. I know I should totally care, and I did. But I thought, this would be a great example, because it is something that I wanted to do pretty quick. I'm not trying to win any design awards necessarily with it, but it has to look nice, and it might be something that we keep and we look at.
Yeah, it's a nice memento.
So how can we speed up the process? Obviously, Adobe Express is incredible because you can go there, type in invitation, and it'll pop something out. You can just change the text, you're done. But if we wanted to kind of jump back in and do something a little bit more unique, I just thought this would be a cool way to demonstrate another one of these features. So we were doing scenes. So we were using the AI to generate a vector scene. But if we click the drop down, there's actually 3 other options. So there's subject, icon, and pattern. We're going to choose pattern because I'm doing everything in priority in case we run out of time. And you can see I've already cheated here. But I thought they might have gone. But let's see. Am I spelling dinosaur correctly?
Only one way to find out.
That's the hardest thing. I thought I would avoid having to spell or do math by becoming I was going to say dinosaur, by becoming a graphic designer.
The new job is dinosaur.
There we go. Now here I am live
Dinosaur.
Googling
A-U-R.
Good. Okay, I did it correctly. All right, cool. There we go. Bang, send it to the back. Quill loves dinosaurs, and he has a dinosaur pattern for his little thing. It's pretty cool.
That's
and
beautiful.
they're always weird, like funky dinosaurs. Like look at this fella.
4 legs and then 2 extra arms.
He's got an extra arm.
Amazing. This is a contender for a future AI illustration stream, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
DIY dinosaurs. Let's go.
DIY dinosaurs. That's good. But yeah, there's obviously lots of different versions, and sometimes you get the wacky stuff that you get within. But like that's cool. Like that's pretty close to what you would do. And that's just basically a pattern. So these are a whole bunch that I did before. Chaos.
Amazing.
Now, but we'll flick through. I think there was one that was like particularly good. I think that one was pretty cool because there's almost an Ankylosaurus down there, and Ankylosaurus is the best dinosaur.
Oh, wow.
you have
Those
a-
be fighting
do
words.
you have a-
I think the Stegosaurus, maybe.
Close
Or
second.
the Triceratops. Or, actually, no, I shouldn't impress you all too much with my dinosaur knowledge. Because we have a question from chat.
Great.
How specific a prompt can you give it? For example, could you suggest, my goodness, colors in the prompt along with the scene you want?
Yes, you can get as specific as you like. Generally, personally, I've found actually the simpler that you can be, the more refined that you can be, and doing more iterations tends to work out better for Firefly. However, something that's interesting is in the current Firefly version on the web, it's actually in 2.0. So that's not embedded in the Creative Cloud apps yet. So it's not in Photoshop or Illustrator right now. But if you go to the Firefly website, firefly.adobe.com, shout out, and you'll actually see a much upgraded version. So it's sampling from a much wider range. So you're going to find better results, basically.
Amazing.
But also something that you can do in the prompting, which I haven't had a chance to try out yet. So I'm just trusting that the rest of the Adobe Live team were accurate when they said this, is that you can do negative prompts. So you can say, I want all of this stuff and I want none of this stuff.
Oh.
Which opens up things to, I think, in a very interesting way. So yeah, try that out.
We'll have to do.
Yep, I hope that answers the question. And I'm selling dinosaur prints now, so if anybody, yeah.
Open up an Etsy store.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's right. Okay, so as I'm digging up old projects to see how it can be revitalized by AI, this is a project that we did on Adobe Live a while ago, so I thought, why not bring this out? This is just vector artwork, very flat kind of thing, and how can we bring more life to this? Because we actually did this live, and I think we probably spent about half an hour on color or something like that.
So, yeah. Color's
Went
an
through.
important thing, right?
It is, and it's so subjective, right? So if you're dealing with a client, which usually we are, even with yourself, like on a different day, you might have different feelings towards the color. You might print something and it just looks terrible. It doesn't look how you thought it would look because what it's printed on, the inks, the reflection, the type of paper, all that sort of thing. How it might look on your phone, how it might look animated. There's all sorts of reasons, right? So it's great that we have some more options to very quickly have a look at different examples.
Yes.
And so in this particular case, we had a fake client, but the fake client came back and said, we actually want more variations. We want to see different variations of the color, it took us a long time at the time. So we want to go to Recolor, and I don't know why I'm going down there. It's actually down here. So I'm going to put this above our heads so we can see it more easily. Oh yeah, thank you, Chad.
Cheers, Chad.
If we went on Adobe MAX and it wasn't a big deal, I know for sure you would have switched it over as soon as I dragged it over here. So thank you for your professionalism today. Just over here is our contextual bar. So again, you might recognize this from Photoshop. Super awesome. And we've got a couple of options here. And hey, I've just selected everything on this page. And guess what we're going to do? Recolor right there. And we're going to click that. So now this brings up this dialog box, which is super cool. It's been around for a little bit, but it's really interesting with what we can do now. So we have this color library, and Johanna, I'm going to get you to pick one. So if
my goodness.
yes, I know. So if you have a look on the screen, maybe something from art history. So let me take a look.
Ooh, well, I think it's going to have to be the Middle Ages.
Middle Ages.
Let's go.
Good choice. Cool. So it's a subtle change, but you can see how
No, I was
it's
going to say didn't change too much.
changed a bit.
But let's see if this next one.
Pick your
changes
jaws
a
up
bit
off the
more.
floor. We're going to do that again. It's usually a little bit more dramatic. Let's go through. Maybe we'll try earth tone. Okay, that hasn't changed it very much.
What about
Whoop.
scientific? Oh,
There we go.
there
okay.
we
So
go.
it's changed quite a bit. So interestingly, like it doesn't change the black. So the black will change regardless. So if you design anything with black, if you want it to change, you need to make it a shade of grey of some kind. Just a bit of a tip. But what I think is interesting about this process, we'll do another one while I'm chatting, is that more often than not, most graphic designers will design in black and white first and foremost and do colour right at the end because of the reasons we spoke about. It also gets in the way. And also colour can save a bad design.
Yeah.
And so it's good to try to get everything to work in black and white. It's the most basic, binary version. As long as you can get it working there, then you can kind of apply colour.
Exactly.
Unless there's already brand colours, blah, 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 blah. So it's actually quite interesting that you could create an entire brand and then jump in and then use some of these features to, just kind of try things around. I don't know what VisiBone is, but let's try that. And of course, you can change these little parameters here to change out the colours, and it's just a whole visual.
I wonder if that could be colour accessibility, perhaps.
Yeah, like for colourblind folk.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Possibly.
Possibly. Okay, now we're going to go to the last one. This is where the AI stuff comes in. And where are we? We don't have long left, do we? My goodness.
No.
Had a whole other thing. We're going to go to Recolor and we're going to check out Generative Recolor. So again, right there, we click over here and we have a couple of these prompts which are really useful. So we'll have a look through here. Johanna.
I think the first one looks pretty good.
Okay, let's do it. So something's happening when you see the little wheel because it's going off to the machine and then coming back. Looking pretty cool. And what I think, I don't know, you tell me, but I feel like it's a bit more cohesive with the Generative Recolor than the Recolor.
Yeah, I think so. And it feels a bit more appropriate in context
Yeah,
as well.
exactly.
The colour choices aren't too out there necessarily.
Not too crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can go to your heart's content. So, classic one, like golden hour. I like doing that too. We've been using that all the time in
Firefly.
In Firefly, yeah.
Golden hour, pastel, and like nostalgia or something. Those
Yeah.
are that's
Retro.
a pro tip. Yes.
Retro's
pro
great.
tip from me.
And you can just go through, and what's great is it saves all the options that you've had before. You've got everything saved there, so it's not, you don't just have to pick one and then everything else is gone. You can kind of flick through. But it's just a great way, like not that these, are too dramatic, but imagine if you've got this full brand that you've rolled out, you can just export all the assets. You can very quickly have it in a presentation, and you can say, "What do you think about this?" And the other trick that I really like, last one because I guess we're running out of time, is
so.
you can literally ask the client, like, "What are some words that you invoke when you're looking at the colours that you want or the things that you want?" And you can literally just type it in and see what the computer pops out
Fantastic.
and see.
Love it. You covered so much.
Yeah.
And still
There's so much more to go.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff. And yeah, so much to go. Anyway, I'll let you do the hosting.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming, Flynn.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure to host you.
Thank you for having me.
And gladly I can say that next up we have Meet the Speaker chat with you again, and our wonderful type dork, Sophie Eleanor. And I can't wait to tune into that. So stick around, everyone. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.
See you soon.
With Sophie and Flynn.
Bye.
See ya.